in real life. Hey everyone, welcome to the info session. I'm Marco, I'm one of the mentors at the FirehoseProject, and we're gonna cover a lot today. Let's jump straight in and see what we can do here. So first things I usually do is give a little bit of an overview of what we're covering through the info session. So basically I want to do three things I want to accomplish. First is I want to run you guys through the core curriculum and give you a better understanding of what kind of web applications we're building and kind of what kind of Ruby code we're learning going through that. It gets a bit technical, but also goes into all the features that you're going to learn. Then I want to explain to you how we customize our curriculum, what the different tracks are for job seekers or people come in with their own ideas, and talk a little bit how the support system works at the FirehoseProject. What do mentorship sessions do? What is the Q&A forum? How do office hours work? And how does this all fit together with the curriculum, maybe group projects, to get me what I want, to help me reach my goal. Then I'll talk a little bit about the mentorship sessions. I said that already, but I'm also going to talk about one of the questions that I usually get from people. They're like, okay, so what do I get out of it? What am I able to do afterwards? And that's the question that I'm answering as well at the very end. So let's jump straight in and go a little bit into the core curriculum and figure out what are the things that you actually build when you're coming into the program. So let's start. Day one, right? You're going to come into the FirehoseProject. You're going to have your onboarding session. You know everything, how that works. You know how do you have your web development environment installed. And then what we're usually building with you is a simple web applications where user can actually input a quote, and we show that randomly on the screen, randomly pull that out. We usually say do that in 10 hours, right? Stuff needs to look good, so when you share that with your friends and you pull it out on they pull it up on their mobile, it should look good there, should look good on tablet, should look good on desktop. It's a simple web application, basically a 360-degree view of all the tools that you're going to use, right? You're getting exposed to the Ruby programming language, you're going to use Rails framework, you're going to use your Postgres database, you're going to learn how to use Git and GitHub version control. We're going to show you how to push things live on Heroku. And that's really the mindset here. It's getting things live fast. That's how startups operate, and that's really important to get that feeling. And then, sharing this with your friends and actually getting user feedback is really powerful for your motivation, right? You're going to share this with people, they're going to use it, they add their quotes to it, and you're going to feel oh wow, it's really cool. And most likely, they're going to ask you for additional feedback, to say, hey, can you add upvote buttons to it? You're like, oh, I can't quite do that yet. Well, we're going to get there, right? So you know how good it is to get feedback on an application that you built, that you created yourself. First 10 hours are done, right? What's next? We ramp you up immediately. This is called the Firehouse This is drink from the Firehose. So we have a lot in store for you throughout those 12 weeks. Next thing we're going to do is a Yelp Club. That's a lot more complicated than the first application. That usually takes people anywhere between 2 and 4 weeks to build. So if I'm thinking about a Yelp Club, the most important feature, I think, is the Google Map API integration, right? So we're thinking about that from a user point of view or from a web development point of view. So I'm going to go in there. A user can type in an address into a form field, write the code to save that in the database, then we write more code to translate that address into latitude and longitude coordinates, take those, pass them into the Google Map API so you get the pin on the map, right? So that's kind of the core feature of the application, but there's more, otherwise it wouldn't be a real-world web application. So we obviously also need commenting features, right? People can leave comments, people can rate with stars how they like a place. If I have a pizza place, right, I want to know what people say about that. And also what I want to know is if somebody leaves a comment and don't need to check the page or the application all the time, I want to get an automated email notification about that comment and that star rating that just happened so I can react and it can be part of the conversation. We're also going to teach you how to build a little user dashboard. So we pull some analytics in there, like how many star ratings you did, what was your average, and show that for every user on a page. So I can go to one place and I don't have to click around everywhere. I can access that from a central admin dashboard. So that's what we do in the next, let's say 2 to 4 weeks. Then we move on to the next one. Again, this is one level up. We're going to build the next application. That's actually, I call this an online learning platform. And if I say platform, one of the key features, one of the key things you're going to learn there is how to do database relationships, right? We already did that during the Yelp clone. Probably we have user authentication, right? So we have users that we need to sign up and register. But during our online learning platform, think about something like Udemy, right? Or Udacity. This is where we need to have different kind of user roles. We have people who want to be students, who want to buy and purchase courses. And then there's instructors who create courses, right? So we need to keep track on that on a database level, which student bought which course and can access which videos, and then also which instructor is supposed to get paid based on which purchasing patterns by the student. That's complicated stuff, and we do that, track all of that on a database level. And obviously, when I say purchase and credit card, right, we obviously need to integrate with the credit card processor. So we integrate with the Stripe API there to actually have you be able to write the code to accept credit card payments, debit card payments, payments in general on your own platform, right? And then you can actually write the code to split that up. Me as a platform owner, how much do I own? How much split do I get, right? Versus the instructor, and how much does the student pay for each individual course? So you can do all that. And the other thing we're going to teach you at that point is how JavaScript works, because we can use JavaScript for a lot of really intuitive and better user experience features. So we're actually going to build a better organization tool like drag and drop for instructors to reorganize and create their lessons. And we do that right then and there, because that's when you need it, and you can actually learn by doing, building something with JavaScript, so we don't have to refresh the page and we can some Ajax calls and all the fancy stuff and jQuery and stuff. Doesn't matter what it is, but it will help the user at that point. And that's really what we're focusing on, right? It's like the goal of going through this and building all this is so when you're at a party and you pull out your phone and you show your friends, say like, hey, this is what I built last night, they should say nothing else but, oh, wow, you did this? That's what we're hitting for, right? So it should look good. It should be easy to use. So user experience is really important to us. Those are the 3 core projects, right? These are web development projects. This is like web applications, right? While you're going through this, we're going to give you a lot of coding challenges, right? You need to be good at writing really advanced Ruby code in order to build advanced web applications, right? So there's something like having a form to input value in a database and showing it somewhere else. That's a good web applications. If you're thinking about it, Facebook in the beginning was nothing more, but now they added a lot of algorithms to actually figure out what gets shown to which users. And that's the really powerful stuff. And that's what you need in the Ruby on Rails world, the Ruby programming language. And that's what we're doing next. Like in parallel, actually, while you build those applications, you're going to learn how to build Ruby code, how to write Ruby code to reorganize lists, to modify elements in the database. That's really important. And so we're teaching you that. So by the time you're in like about, I say like between 6 and 8, you can start combining those 2 things, and then you can build really powerful web applications. At that point, we usually also start, or earlier even, we start teaching you about writing tests for your software, right? We really want to make sure this is best practice in the industry. Everyone requires that. So we're teaching you that too. We have a whole module dedicated to writing tests, and then we actually have you build an application from scratch with test-driven development, writing tests for your software first, seeing if those tests fail, and then writing the feature to actually make those tests pass, right? Read up on test-driven development, really important, really good to do. So we teach that to our students so they can learn it as well. Now, all these things come together, and then we usually do the following, right? We're talking about week 8 here. And this is when we split things up a little bit. If you guys are the ones who are like, I want a job, I want to like maybe freelance or work remotely or whatever, we're going to put you on a group project, right? So, and then if you have your own idea, we're going to help you launch your own web application idea, specify that out, and make sure to launch it. Let's talk about the job seekers first. Group projects. What does that mean? We're going to give you, this is exactly like the real world. We're going to give you an assignment of what you need to build. So let's put that in examples. Like, Mario, what is a group project? Multiple examples. Just right now, we have a group project, and they're building a chess application. Chess game as a web application, right? Now, some people say, oh, chess game, I can play that everywhere. But do you know how to program that? It's really, really difficult to do that. Think about all the figures that need to move across the field, and you need to keep track on database level of where they are, which one got kicked out. Really complicated stuff. Put that on a web application so you can push it on a server so other people can play it. That's really challenging. And just last week, like one of our students over in LA, he was at an interview, and the interview question was, how would you build a chess application right now on the whiteboard? And he was basically like, oh, funny you should ask. I just built one with my group project. I'm working on it right now, actually. Can I open my computer and show you? those guys were impressed, right? That's hard stuff. It's like writing a poker box, like really complicated things. So that's what a group project does. We're picking an application and we're building that together as a team. And what also happens, and what I think is a huge competitive advantage of a lot of other either in-person or online coding boot camps, is you learn how to work together with other people on a collaborative basis. Because in the real world, how software built, right? Best software is built by great teams. So you need to know how to collaborate on a coding level, right? And that means when you work together with our student teams and your mentor and a technical lead on that group project, you're gonna get your code reviewed all the time, right? Not only do you need to review other people's code, but you also get user review. That will make you better because you need to tell other people, hey, you know what? The code for that feature is pretty good, but here's something else we can do. Push your code live. I'm gonna add a little patch on it that will make it twice as fast. That will make it better. Knowing how to do that and communicate that is key. And if you're thinking about it, like zoom out, right? Think about a hiring manager if you're looking for a job. Who would you rather hire? The person who knows how to work on a team, because if you put that person on a team, in the real world, they're only teams, right? You're not gonna be hired as a single person. It's very unlikely. You're gonna be in a team, and that's the person who can work on day one and say like, oh yeah, cool, what's the code base? Yeah, I've been there before. Oh, code reviews? Yeah, I've done it all the time. Oh, you know, maybe we can improve that code here. You can pick a bug or something small and do that on day one, versus the person who only worked by themselves, only with a mentor, right? And never worked with like 4 or 5 people together in a rapid fire agile development setting. It's going to take like weeks to figure out how this all works. So that's what we say when we say we treat you as a junior web developer from day one, which is a group project. Perfect example, right? You're responsible for building your features and learning how to break complex features into individual technical tasks and then split them up across a group and then take one technical block after another and do that. That's just how it works in the real world. That's how we do it with our students. Now, if you're on the other side and you are a person who has their idea and really wants to launch that, right? Call those the entrepreneurs, right? You want to do something like that, no problem. What we do is we give you the foundation during the first 8 weeks, and then we want you to take that knowledge and apply it to your own idea, right? So together with your mentor, we will break everything down, we wireframe everything out, we draw every single screen of the application out, and we then break it down into individual steps, and we teach you what you need to get there, right? So you launch it at the end of the program, and you have your application live. So to give you an example, right? The group project, they build a chess game, they also build a platform for training people for the technical interview process with quizzes and technical interview questions, right? That's what another team built, which is really awesome. Like if you go to a technical interview and they ask a question that you have on your own platform, you're like, hey, wow, this is really cool, good question. I have that on my platform too. Here's how I train other people how to solve that question. What do you guys think? Maybe I should improve the hints on my platform, right? Changes the discussion in an interview quite a lot. So the other thing that we have for entrepreneurs, like for example, like Steven, now in Sacramento, he used to be in Boston. He built an on-demand medicine delivery app, right? That's like an Uber clone. You say, hey, I want this kind of stuff, and you see the car driving on the map, you walk down your house, you grab your little package, payment is already handled, right? He built the backend out for that and launches that as an iOS app. Then other people have built, what else do we have? Like Eric from, I think, where's he from? I hope I don't get this wrong. Reno, Nevada, I think. He built Plate Wars. That's basically an app where you can rate the dishes that people post online, right? So he wanted to do that. He's really passionate about that, and he launched it over Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna see him tomorrow doing office hours, so I'll check in with him. So now, how does the support system work, right? There's multiple things, and I think the most important is the question and answer forum. Now, people usually say, oh, Marco, the forum, this is so boring, forums are everywhere. No, but it's really important because it enables you to do so much more. So basically, you're coding Thursday night, Tuesday night, right? And you get stuck, you get an error message, you go through what we trained you to solve your own problem, but you cannot quite find a solution, right? So you take your error message, you put it in the forum, there's somebody there that helps you get unstuck within like usually like an hour or two, right? And then you can move on and can stop spinning your wheels and actually focus on what matters, which is learning new techniques on how to build web application or writing better Ruby code, right? What that enables us is if you come to your mentor, we actually use the mentorship session for something that's really valuable and add on top of your coding level, rather than doing like typos, right? Oh yeah, you missed a comma on line 15, or hey, you are, like miss an equal sign there, or you have a typo on line 37. We don't need to do that during the mentorship session. We can take care of that through the forum. So when you come to the mentorship session, we can actually say, okay, look, for this application that you built here, let's add an additional feature, right? Let's actually make, like, put an analytics component in here. Like one of our students, he used our Yelp Club to map out all the horse racing tracks across the US. Apparently, there's no good platform for that, and he's really interested in the horse race track. But horse track racing, I obviously don't know anything about it. I can't even say that word. So he put an analytics platform on top of that. So now when he goes out and he meets with his friend on the weekend on the horse racing tracks, they know which horse to bet on based on their past performance that he pulled into his application. So that's something that he's really passionate about, and he and his friends are loving it and using it all the time and adding more data and adding more analytics to it, right? So that's something that, like, you can customize the applications that we're having that we're showing you how to build. And that's usually what we do in the mentorship sessions, is like add that additional feature to it, teach you how to write better tests, right? Put something on top, solve that complicated algorithm, or show you additional ways to solve it so you better prepare for the real world. That's the mentorship session. Then we also have weekly office hours. The weekly office hours, we meet once a week, every Wednesday right now, and all the students come together. So then what's really good, what is happening is, if you're just starting out, right, you're like, okay, I'm a little confused here. Maybe like, this is pretty far ahead right now. I don't quite know what's going on. Then you see like the questions that other people are asking down the line. People week 6, 8, 10, 11, maybe from group project. You see their code, right? And you're like, oh, this is pretty advanced, right? But you see where this is going, which is really interesting. It's really good to know. And the other time, like, you have the opportunity to ask questions, the mentors are going to help you. Or oftentimes, like, if you down the line in week 8 and you see somebody who just started week 1 or 2, you oftentimes like, I had exactly the same problem right there. And people jump in and help out. And that's a different kind of learning if you actually help somebody out and teach them how something works. Obviously, there's always the mentors who usually answer a lot of the questions, right? One great question we had last week was, so what do you guys do outside of that? How do you come into and integrate yourself into the web development community, right? That was somebody from New York, Aaron asked that from New York, and we got a great answer from somebody from LA about that, right? And so that was really helpful. And people jumped in from like London, right? And they said like, hey, here in the UK, it's a little different, right? So it's really great perspectives that we're getting through the office hours. And that's also a great way to get like your big questions answered, like how do these pieces fit together? I think that's pretty much it. Like, support forum, get all your error messages solved, use the mentorship sessions to add knowledge on top, and then use the office hours for getting in touch with other people, asking them questions and getting help with like the big pieces, how everything fits together. And then now answering my last question, right, is like, what are the skills actually you can get out of it? Like, not only technical, but what am I able to do? And my simple answer to this is, if you're coming out of the FireHose project after 12 weeks, you're thinking about an idea of a web application that you want to build. You can go take the weekend, take several days, and you can just make that idea reality, push it out live on the internet so people can use it and collect user feedback and continue improving on it. You should be able to do that. That shouldn't be a problem after the 12 weeks or less. Obviously, you want to have your own application live. We help you with that. Obviously, if you want a job, we help you with that, right? So now, guys, if you have questions, right below me are the question box, so email me. I already received a whole bunch of questions, so I'm going to go through them in a moment. But look at them and go through. I'm going to go over a few more questions that I usually get or already received that I remember before I check on additional questions. So one thing people usually ask me is, so how are the materials presented, right? And so we do a variety of things. So the majority of the material is presented in written guides. Why is it written? Why not videos? We do have videos, but actually in the real world, if you need to read documentation of how to integrate somebody's source code into your own project, or how to like use a certain type of code, you're always reading documentation. So by learning that, how to use our written guides, you're preparing yourself to help yourself down the line in the real world. And what you're also doing is you having this library of resources. So you don't have to go back to a video and jump back and forth between the individual like minutes and like, why was this one line of code that I needed, right? You go through, skim it quickly, it's like, oh, here's the line, how to integrate emails into my application, automated email notifications. And you come in and you put that code in, and you don't need the rest because you remember, right? And then you can like use that as a kind of library for your own documentation, for you, and all these features that you built together with us. Those are you can access them for life, so you can always come back and use them to build additional applications. And then we have some videos, and we give you those videos at the time that you need them, right? So there's one point where we need to learn about object-oriented programming, and we give you that video there because you need to watch that before you come to the mentorship session. So then in the mentorship session, we don't have to talk for an hour over object-oriented programming. I can ask you, so did you watch that video? It was 25 minutes or something. Watch it, and then ask me, where were the trouble points? What did you not understand? And then we can go and fill those gaps and not just do an overview. And that's, again, much more powerful and uses the resource of a mentor much better than just listening to what that person has to say, right? It's specific to you when you need it and for what you need it precisely. Okay, now let me see if we have any questions. I know I have a whole bunch of email questions. Okay, I don't see any questions right here. Guys, if you have any questions, put them below. I'm going to check my email. I know there are a whole bunch. I think who asked me a question? Flat asked me a whole bunch of questions, and then I'm going with, I think Gareth's name asked me a whole bunch of questions. Gareth Leonard. Here we go. Okay, Gareth, so you're based in Dublin, right? Great. Is there any time zone issues, was his question. You asked me, I think, 11 questions. I'm not sure if I can cover all of them, but I'll write you an email afterwards. Time zone issues. We have current students like all over the world, right? From Bangkok to LA. So time zone issue, like we're flexible around that, right? So your mentor will schedule their sessions whenever it's convenient for you and for them. So we usually find a good time for that. So right now you're in Dublin. We have students from London. It actually works quite well because of time difference. Your evening is the middle of our day here. We're based in Boston on the East Coast. So that works out really well. So that's another thing. Let me, so that's his first question. Next enrollment date. Oh, when does it start, right? So we onboard new students every Monday. I think right now for next Monday, we're already fully booked. There's one slot open for the 15th, and then like end of December, we have a few more slots open. So every Monday, new students start. And yeah, basically, how does the application process work? It's another good question. Is you go into, like right now, you watch the info session, you kind of understand what we're doing. Next steps are, I want to see code samples of all of our students. You know, here's zooming out a little bit. You need to really know that you like if you want to become a doctor, right? Before you apply to medical school, like really figure out if you like to see the sight of blood. It's the same with coding. Like, understand if you like coding before you choose that to be your profession, or if you really want to build that idea out yourself, right? So we want to see some code samples, something that you wrote, right? It can be something simple. I just want to see where your level is. This also helps me, like, where we're starting out and what we need to customize on the curriculum so you actually learn and get to reach your goal. That's really important to us. So I want to see coding samples, and then I jump on a phone, or some of our mentors jump on the phone with every single student before we admit them in the program. So usually, if you have already, email me your link to your GitHub profile. Attach some code that you wrote, right? Today I talked to a student in London just like before I jumped on the info session, and he sent me some coding samples in the statistical programming language R. I looked at that. That was really solid stuff, right? Those are the things I want to see. If you have an HTML page, a portfolio page, like, show me that. I want to see that, right? That's really good for us. And then we can talk about in a Google Hangout, just one-on-one, we can talk about your goals and figure out like any other questions and figure out, like, I might ask you some questions on the code. It's the application process. Or is there any pre-work, right? If you don't have any experience, email me. We have pre-work. I know we don't charge currently for that. I'll give you some good resources that I want you to go through, and then you already have a solid foundation. And I want you to email me those links, right? I'm challenging you here. I want to see how quickly you can actually learn these new skills. That's really important, especially if you want to find a job afterwards, right? How quick can you absorb new knowledge? And so that's what I want to know. So that helps you to get more out of the program when you actually come in prepared. So email me for that. And if you say like, hey, I really want this, give me some pre-work. I'm happy to point you some really good resources that will help you a lot in being ready for the Firehouse project. can I pause the course and then return? You can. Some students have done it. I wouldn't recommend it. Simply, it's like learning a regular language, right? If you move to Spain to learn Spanish, and you're gonna go back to, okay, you're Dublin, to Ireland for a week, right? You're not only losing that week where you don't speak Spanish, but when you come back, you probably need to relearn some of the stuff. So in essence, you probably lose like a week and a half. You do that once or twice, it's gonna set you back. You're always gonna forget the coding. So I suggest, if you don't have to pause the course, go through it entirely. Obviously, if there's an emergency, you're like sick with the flu, now we usually extend that for people at the end. But like, don't plan on having a 2-week vacation break here, another 2-week, like I've got to go on a wedding for another week here. That's probably not good. Make sure you dedicate the time for it. Which brings me to my next point, which is, how much time do you expect students to put in? The minimum we say is 15 hours, 15 hours per week. That's the absolute minimum. I usually say make it between 15 and 20 hours per week. Now, if you're a job seeker, I usually recommend around 30 hours per week, 25, 30 hours, depending on how much background you have, right? We really have to put in a lot of work to get that knowledge and kickstart your web development career in such a short time. So that's the timing that we ask all the students to put in. Let's see, what portfolio work will I have on completion of the course? We're building 3 web applications. The first one is pretty simple, it takes 10 hours. The other one are really advanced. A Yelp phone and a Udemy phone, that's really complicated stuff. So these are really web applications that will impress other people, right? Then you're doing group projects. If you build like another platform, or you build a training platform, the technical interview training platform, or a Jess application, that's even more complicated, right? So you build at least 4 web applications, right? There's challenge projects where we say build another application with test-driven development in mind. So that could be your 5th application. But it really doesn't matter like how many you build. It's how complex they are and how real world they are, right? We can build 20 applications in a week that do one single thing, like predict the weather or something. That's simple stuff. We want to build something that's really interactive and people can actually use. And that's where the complication comes in. And that's where the learning comes in. So that's where we want to go. Can I speak with my mentor before deciding to enroll? Yeah, definitely. You can speak to me. I'm a co-mentor. You can speak to the other mentors. Usually I want to speak to you first because I want to know like what's your level, and I want to figure out like where you're at, and then we can figure that out. Which mentor would be best for you given your situation, your coding background, and your goals. Can I change my mentor? Of course you can change your mentor if the relationship doesn't work out. You're not happy with somebody, we'll figure something out. Okay, cool. I'm moving on to some other questions, see if I got anything there. I got another email, Flat having a million questions as well. Pulling up the other email. So Gara, I hope I answered all your questions. I tried my best. It's kind of like super fast. Let's see. Yeah, so Flat was like, hey, I read your bootcamp evaluation guide. So on our website, right, if you're in the research process right now, check out our coding bootcamp. On the top nav on theFirehoseProject.com. Click on that, go through that, right? It helps you define your goal, what you want to get out of it, talks about the technologies, also gives you really hard-hitting questions you should ask every single bootcamp, online or in person, about what their values are and how they're teaching us. Really important stuff to do that, so you're not falling into the marketing trap of somebody promising you something that actually doesn't even matter, right? So really make sure and understand what matters and what doesn't matter. So go through that. So Flat took that and started asking me a lot of questions. What would we ask them now? So let's see. Okay, great question. How do you differentiate your curriculum from other competitors out there? Why are we better, right? I think if we're looking at other online coding bootcamps, the main reason, I always give 2 reasons, right? Our curriculum, first of all, is a lot deeper. You're gonna learn a lot more Ruby code. You learn how to write algorithms, super important skill to have. You're also gonna learn how the database relationships work on a really deep level. And you build sophisticated, like advanced web applications, like a chess game. That's no easy feat to pull off. So curriculum is deeper, you'll get more knowledge out of it. The group project on the other, is the second thing. That prepares you for the real world, working together with other people. That communication, code reviews, critiquing, being ready to be on a team and have impact from day one, that's priceless. You get that from us too. Those are the 2 main things. There's endless things more, don't want to bash any competitors. Those are the key ones, and I think they make all the difference. What happens after the course is done? You'll still get one-on-one mentorship session. After the course is done, 12 weeks, I usually take about, there's several things. I usually take about an hour, 2 hours per week to talk to our graduates. I want to know how they do. I'll talk to them, help them either on their job with advice, or help them if they're still in a job searching process, help them with that. And then we also have our graduates are actually allowed into our office hours. An office hour is not a chat room. This is like a Google Hangout like this where all our students are coming. Right now, thinking about having an alumni office hours where the alumni can come, there's a mentor, and then there's also like additional students that can help them out, work on different projects. Some of our alumni still work on group projects because they really want to see them through and keep helping the team. So there's a pretty tight-knit community there between alumni and current students and the mentors. So I think that's what you're getting. So it's, yeah, you'll be engaged if you want to be engaged, definitely. Then it's all about, Fad, you asked me all kinds of technical stuff about testing, which unit framework. We can talk about that when we talk later this week, because I know we already have something scheduled. What frameworks do we use and teach and why? So we use Ruby, the programming language, Rails, the framework, right? We do JavaScript as well. And then like you also learn how to use Git and GitHub for the version control, and Heroku, right? Amazon AWS services, Heroku as your server. You're gonna learn all that, Postgres and writing SQL queries, you'll learn all that. But we use Ruby and Rails because when you start, you gotta pick one framework and don't learn 5 half-baked. Switching frameworks, not difficult once you know how to program. Switching it when you don't really know how things work, really confusing, right? There's so many blog posts out there that recommend if you're starting out, don't do that, right? Don't pick up 5 things at the same time. Do one, and switching is really easy. Case in point, one of our students, one of our graduates, was just in an interview, and he learned Ruby on Rails, but he was interviewed for Python, which is not a programming language, and Django, which is not a framework, web development job. And they're like, you know Ruby code so well. It's easy for us to teach you Python. It's just a different syntax. But you know how to program. That's what you need to go for, right? So hope that's answered that question. How many times per week do I meet with my mentor? Right now, we're meeting with your mentor once a time for a full week. We used to split that up and have more, but we find that going through and actually spending a full hour or something a little longer and actually working on something that matters and having you come error-free for that session is the best. That hour, you gotta be ready and you gotta have done all the pre-work, right? If I assign you a task that you need to do, hey, write this like 20, 30, 40 lines of code and come up with yourself to reorganize this list here in the database. I wanna see a solution a day ahead of time. And then when we're in the session, we're gonna review your code and we're gonna write on improvements together. So it's 1 time per week. And if you get stuck, you can use the forum. That's way faster for that, right? But doing that once a week, so far we've seen the best results. People are split up, but usually once a week is like, it's plenty for everyone. Cool, I think I got that flat. Now let me check if we got anything else. Cool, I think I'm pretty much done. I'm 5 minutes over. I hope this was helpful. Here's the deal, guys. If any other questions, you all have my email address. Just email me. I'm happy to answer any other questions, right? If you're eager to get started, right? Email me. We can set up a time to talk via Google Hangout, just one-on-one, figuring out your coding goal, figuring out what you need. Maybe you need some pre-work, right? If you have some coding samples, just proactively send me them. I love looking at them, giving you feedback on that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks for coming. This was fun. I love like helping people out. We all do that here. That's why we're co-mentors at the FireHose Project. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. This was a lot of fun, and I'll talk to you soon. Stay awesome, guys.